Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And if you've ever wanted to know how a military background with a mission-driven focus can make a positive impact in the real estate investing world, then this is absolutely the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. Because today's guest not only originally hails from the Midwest, just like me, he's also a captain in the U.S. Army, and he is also the managing member of Riverside Investment Group, and he's on a mission. He is on a mission to have 1,000 units under management in the next 5 years. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's show, Mr. Goebel. Bo, welcome to the show, man.
Billy, it is an absolute honor. I appreciate this opportunity. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, this is so much fun. And before we even get started, before I even ask you the first questions, because we like to ask everybody here the same 5 questions at least, and then everything in the middle is all about Bo. I do want to thank you so much for your service, man. First and foremost, just really want to thank you for your service. It's something that's super important, and I want to thank you before we even get started.
Well, it's an honor of a lifetime to serve. I love this country and appreciate you extending that up front. So thanks.
Awesome. So listen, Bo, you're a gentleman who's traveled around quite a bit, but I'd love for you to help the Going Long family understand, where do you live in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a native Hoosier from Indiana, Midwest, like you said, but currently stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, in the lovely Columbus, Georgia. And very soon we'll be up in Nashville, Tennessee. So I am in a transient time in my life, but very happy. Love all 3 places. So.
All right. Fantastic. So fellow Midwesterner, you're in Columbus, Georgia. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. And then you're on your way to Tennessee. So awesome, man. So Bo, help us understand, what is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Billy, I'm so happy you asked that question, because it is the easiest question of the day. 72 hours ago, I witnessed a miracle with the birth of my 3rd child. So we brought him home to his older sister and older brother yesterday. So awesome. Very easy to answer that one.
Awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. If you could watch us on the video, I'm doing a fist pump and all excited. Congratulations, man. Wow.
Mama and baby are doing very well. And I mean, it's a little chaotic. It is a little chaotic, but it is just full of gratitude, love, and joy here. So
beautiful, man. So that's congratulations to you and the entire family. And it's going to be an awesome ride, man. Going to be an awesome ride. So listen, we've got a chance to kind of get things started, understanding where you are, where you're moving to, and then also the most wonderful news in the last 24 hours, being home with a new baby. I talked about a couple of things at the very, very high level, but Bo, the entire Going Long family would love to know more about your backstory. If you want to help us to understand that, and maybe talk about some of the different decisions that you made to get to this point in your investing journey, would be really helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, Billy. So I was born in Southern Indiana, very big extended family, love my people. And, after played football in college, thoroughly enjoyed that. And then really wanted to serve the country before I had somebody depending on me back home. Well, I met my wife about 6 months into my service, so that didn't work out. But have been in the Army, as an infantry officer for about 8 years now, and thoroughly blessed for that opportunity. Extremely fulfilling job, and surrounded myself with just the absolute best people imaginable. So, and along that route, found real estate as a passion of mine, and in a way that we're going to impact millions of lives throughout the rest of our lives. So That has definitely lit the fire that has kind of started us on this journey that, started with some short-term rentals, led into commercial multifamily. We'll be getting into residential assisted living sooner than later, and some development and construction as well. So, as we transition, I've got another 6 months in the Army before I transition into a real estate role full time. And, just really looking forward to impacting lives and providing a valuable service to so many people. So.
Wow, man, this is really fun. You're already talking about the impact in the millions of lives, and being able to start out and talk about some of the team sport, and then also being able to be enlisted in terms of being able to serve right through your service to the country, which is phenomenal. And then you talked about also being able to find this passion for real estate. Now, because a lot of people would probably go, well, look, if you're in the Army, like that's kind of just a role on its own, right? You're busy doing that kind of stuff, and to be able to find this passion for real estate, can you take us on that little path? Like, how did you actually find that passion, and what actually got you to take action? Because a lot of times people will find a passion, but they don't actually move into action. Maybe you could help us understand that. Would be great.
Yeah, I think that to answer your second question first, what makes you take action? I really think there's a mindset applied to it, right? And it's something that I've been fortunate enough to be, in our training and in our military, just outlook. It is paramount that we make decisions quickly and we follow through with things. So I've been really blessed with that. And but the aha moment in real estate, I mean, if something resonates with you as deeply as it did me, whenever I finally realized the potential of what I saw, I mean, there's no way you can't take action. Like if your why is strong enough, there's no way you can't. And so I saw, I have a deep desire to give back to people that I care about and love, and humanity in general, but specifically some people back, my extended family, people that I really care about. And I find a void of, being able to protect their nest egg. Essentially, it was what my initial driver was. I've got 17 aunts and uncles on one side. Well, I say 16. My dad's one of 17, right? So, and they're all retirement age. And, 2007 happens again. I was, if an event like 2007 happens again, or if, some predictions say it's going to be bigger, I would hate to see those people suffer. Right. And so urgency was like, I've got to get this stuff rolling now so I can figure out a way to, bring people that I really care about in, sooner than later, because I do think that there's something that's pending, real estate is just, once I realized the inherent strengths of the asset class, or just real estate in general, I was like, man, this is the field that I want to play in, because it's unmatched, right? For long-term wealth building vehicle, or as a long-term wealth building vehicle, and just a safe place to place your money and make a social impact. So.
Yeah, you talked about a couple of things, and I love that. I mean, because one of the very first things that we talked about in the beginning was your love for family, right? Your people, and then you just come back, and now you're talking about your father, and then 16 aunts and uncles. That's just amazing, right? And so I guess the kind of the question that I had is like, is your family at all like involved in real estate in any way, shape, or form? Like, if those other aunts and uncles, have they? Because and I'm asking the question because I don't, like, my family, no one's involved in it. I'm the kind of the first person who started it. I share your passion and see the strength, and I want to tell everybody. But I'm just curious if you come from a family of people that are already have exposure and experience to real estate, or are you the trailblazer?
Yeah, I'd say quite the contrary. No one knows about it. I think that, and it's funny because I've brought, a couple family members in and kind of taught them, and now they're evangelists for it, and so it's just so fulfilling to be able to share the potential that we have in this investing realm. So.
Yeah, it fills your heart, man, because and that's happened for me as well, where you talk to family members and you start saying things, and there's this moment where it's kind of disbelief because there's a lack of exposure, lack of experience, and then you take them through slowly through the process, and then they can begin to ask questions. And when they start asking the questions, it's one of those things that you're like, okay, well, cool. I think the light is starting to click. So that's actually, you know what's been the most fulfilling exchange with a family member when you see the light bulb go off for them?
So it's funny, Billy, because I haven't made the impact that I want yet. So I have not invested to the level that I want to with my family, mostly because, we're from the Midwest. So you would understand this, and people that aren't from the Midwest, just very polite, very, money is not something that you talk about, because that's not,
Ever.
it's
Ever.
yeah, you don't ask about what your wages are. You don't talk about investments. You're just like, but so it's been more of a challenge to kind of, approach that subject with people that I care about. Whenever I'm talking to somebody else, whenever Billy and Bo are talking, I'm gonna be like, hey man, let's talk numbers all day long. But whenever you're talking to your aunt or somebody that kind of wiped your butt whenever you were little, it can be a little bit more difficult. So that being said, I mean, my first and true investment property after our house hack was a duplex. And it's something that I partnered fully with my father on. I think it's going to be my favorite investment property of all time. It's $100,000 duplex. But truly to see him light up the way that he did, we spent about $25,000 and then on a duplex down payment, and then put about 10 grand into it. And then we were able to do the BRRRR method, which most people would know by now, which is to refinance it after.
Yeah, go ahead and explain it to us, because we're always learning new things. So help people understand when you talk about the BRRRR method, what that means.
Absolutely. So it's a beautiful way of basically making your money work for you in multiple different ways. But basically, you buy a property that needs a little bit of work, you're able to rehab it, rent it out, and then refinance that property. And whenever you refinance that property, because you've added enough value, you can typically take out a sizable amount of your initial investment, and sometimes you can make more. So we pulled out about 80% of our money. So we've got like $8,000 left in a deal that's now cash flowing very well. And to see him, to teach an old dog new tricks, and now he's super excited. I mean, that's what he wants to roll through with things. And that means, like you said earlier, just to tie it back in, I mean, the money is so small on the scale of fulfillment whenever you're just involving people that you care about. And then, we talk way more than we used to, because we're constantly doing little things, and we've got other projects going on. And so just to see him and light up like that is something that's very fulfilling for me.
So I love that you were able to have that opportunity to identify a duplex, and you were able to go through that with your father and be a part of that process, because it is one of the things later, because it is well beyond the money, because your father also is going to share that experience with his 16 brothers and sisters, right? And be able to, you won't have to necessarily sit down and talk to them about the numbers, but just the experience of what you and your father were able to do as you go out and you share that experience with them. You're also helping them to be in a comfortable space where they're learning, where they can ask questions. And I think that is one of the most beautiful ways that you can also help your family, your tribe, and then in those beyond. And I guess from that, we're going to start talking about how you're going to go out, because you've got a very clear mission that you want to be able to do over the next 5 years. But before we go there, so you made a very deliberate approach, and you, as someone who's in the military, you're learning lots of skills. You talked about that decision-making muscle, and I think that that's something that is phenomenal, because especially leadership, this is one of the most important things. And I would love for you to share with the Going Long family, like, of the skills that you are developing in your military career. Help us understand, what are some of the most important transferable skills that are helping you to be successful from a real estate investment perspective?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I would say that, military is definitely a wonderful proving ground of leadership. And there's no better, in my mind, to be thrusted into a leadership position where literally lives are on the line. It makes you take a step back in awe and kind of humbles you very quickly. So, and I've been humbled very quickly by my failures and my learning points, and so to go through those things and be blessed to not have, them not be catastrophic events, has been very fortunate for me. I would say by far so I would just link it, by far the most fundamental linkage, especially for a combat arms personnel, an infantry officer or infantry leader, is definitely that leadership. It comes from everything in life, is dependent on like the power that we have in life is our decisions, and the decisions that we make, and being able to control your state in order to control your, whenever you control your state, you can actually control the decisions that you make, and the decisions that you make lead to either, great success or, failure. So, I would definitely say that military training is paramount on leadership and making proper decisions at proper times, and being able to quickly get to what is the most important information, digest that information, and go with a 70% solution, as opposed to sitting back and waiting for all the information to roll in. So.
And I just want everyone in the Going Long family to hear what Bo just said, because I think this is critical, right? Is you have to make decisions based on imperfect information, typically, right? If you have to wait for every single light to turn green before you left your home, you would probably never leave, ever. And so when you are able to train that muscle through your military experience and exposure, that is helping you to become more comfortable with making those decisions based on imperfect information. And it's the fact that you're sharing that with us. It also helps us to recognize that, yeah, if you can't wait for all the lights to turn green. If not, you're just going to sit in your driveway. You're not going to go anywhere. And when you're on a mission to be able to accomplish whatever it is, you have to be able to continue to move. So appreciate you sharing that. And one of the things you mentioned yourself, like you're moving around different states, right? Different experiences. And we're here on the Going Long podcast, right? And we want to help people feel much more comfortable and confident being able to invest beyond your backyard. It's one of the things that I never thought about, Bo. I mean, I always thought I was just going to purchase properties in my backyard. And I read that little purple book. And then I realized that, well, for me, I don't know if I'll ever purchase an opportunity or be a part of an opportunity where I live. Could change. Just curious for you, this whole concept of distance and investing long distance and being able to not necessarily be in the same physical space as your property, kind of how has that played out in your world, and how's that played out in your world?
Yeah, so I guess sometimes it's very difficult, right? And I would say that you definitely have to get over the hurdle, the mindset shift that you have whenever it's, hey, I need to run everything in this business, or hey, I need to figure out a way to make sure that things run in this business, right? And so there's really three different things that we look at. Well, four different things that we look at whenever we're looking for what market we're going to be in or what asset class. And it starts with asset class, right? So commercial multifamily is where we're focused in right now. And once you have a team is the second thing. So you absolutely have to have a team. If you don't have a team, it doesn't matter if it's the best deal in the world. You don't have somebody that's going to actually be able to execute that deal. It doesn't matter. And so team is second and most important. And then, you have the individual market that you're going to be getting into, right? And so you want to have the demographics and make sure that you understand that market, what price per door you should be buying at, or at least what cap rate, or, some sort of metric. Is there sustainable growth through this market? Is it something is it resistant to recession? Is there a lot of new jobs coming in, things like that. And then lastly, you'd be actually looking at the property, right? So by far, or I decided, and we decided we were going to invest where we had a team in place. And so for us, that's Southern Indiana. And for us, that's down here in Georgia, because that's where we have some people located. And then we build out the market, we analyze those markets. Hey, we've got a good team in place and the market actually works. Okay, we can start looking at properties, right? So yeah, just understanding and building a team is all about essentially understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, and then complementing yourself with people, or just roles and responsibilities with different sets of people. So very confident in our team in Southern Indiana to take down, to really fulfill the goals that we have in a large way. And now down here in Georgia, we've also just purchased an asset, 68 unit down here in Georgia, and performing phenomenally well so far.
So I love that. So multiple states, clear criteria, looking at the asset, the team, the market, the property. And a lot of times people, when you're investing in your backyard, you want to invest in a particular property. What I typically found is when you're investing beyond your backyard, you're investing in multiple properties, right? Or multiple doors. So the multiple tends to get bigger. And that usually means that people are looking at investing passively, right? Or that are actively, like yourself, you're building teams in specific locations that help to understand things. So you started talking about some of the things, and I want to kind of help our people that are thinking passive investing beyond their backyard, right? To think about the market, right? I like to call it the location. Some of the things that you talked about are, people moving in or leaving and stuff like that. But maybe help us to understand some of the different items that you take into consideration when you're looking at the location, I like to call, but the market that you would potentially invest your time and your resource in to start to build out a team, so that the person that's watching us today or the person that's listening to us today, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm glad Bo shared that, because I wasn't even thinking about this as one of the things as a passive investor I should really think about when I'm looking at a specific market. If you could share a little bit with us, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely a demographic you want to be looking at, right? So just looking straight demographics, population growth and job growth are by far, like 100% of real estate investors will look at those numbers whenever they're actually analyzing a market, right? But then there's so many, they're kind of intangible things. And before I'm going to take a step back. Other than those two things, you're looking at basic economics, supply and demand, right? We're in the affordable housing space, right? So we look for B or C class assets, and it's a very simple pool of population, and by this demographic, is there, you're looking at vacancy rates and you're able to determine, hey, is there enough demand here, or is this an oversupplied area? You're looking at how much is being built currently, and where, if there's a massive influx of people coming in or people leaving, you'd always take those things into consideration. So we're looking for stable tertiary markets with solid supply and demand fundamentals. And that primarily means that we're coming into to purchase properties that haven't really been performing very well, because so we look for properties that would need some at least cosmetic work to provide the value to the tenants or residents that we, serve, that we would want to serve, right? So a lot of these properties, we're not changing a whole lot. It's simply providing a whole lot of service, and leading with that, with the idea of giving them the best home, possible. It adds a lot to the asset. Sorry about that. I got a little hooked up.
Yeah. No. And that's really helpful, right? Because what you're helping us understand from a value add perspective, it's not that you need to completely change every single thing, but you want to make sure that you are adding the services in improving the things that are going to make the most impact on your resident. And the way that you understood what that specific opportunity needs to provide is because you've already done the the homework at the market level, right? And like the things you talked about, it's really basic supply and demand, right? Number one, and you're looking at things like, are more people moving in than leaving? Something called net migration. We're also looking at factors like who is there in terms of employers, and also the diversity. I'm going to add this one because I know it's one of the things that you think about is the diversification and the durability of the jobs that are in a specific area, because that's really
No,
important.
you're absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely.
Could potentially be a lot of risk for your business. So yeah.
No,
So
that's absolutely something we look at. No, that's absolutely something we look at as well. And to be honest with you, once you've assessed enough positive, uh, marks, then you can actually take a step back and say, okay, let's start identifying properties and areas that we can actually implement our business plan.
And one of the things that you also mentioned, so you kind of talked about the business plan, but you mentioned something, you are focused on tertiary markets. For some people, that may be a new concept. Can you just help us understand when you say tertiary market, kind of what does that mean? How many, what is the population minimum that you would typically look at? Because once again, you're helping to educate a lot of people that are interested in investing passively long distance, right?
No, it's a great question. And I think by like standard definition, tertiary markets, anything under secondary markets. So the primary markets, secondary markets, and then tertiary markets, which by definition is like everything. I believe like Nashville, Tennessee would be a tertiary market, which in my mind is crazy, right? So whenever I'm talking tertiary, we're really looking at populations that are 25,000 people to 150,000 people, and just have strong demographic, strong job drivers, right? So there's definitely stability throughout that market. You're not going to see a whole lot of growth. You're not going to see a whole lot of appreciation, but you are going to see some fundamentals. Yeah, and it's just providing, especially for example, our primary market is Evansville, Indiana, and Southern Indiana, and so it's the third biggest city in Evansville. Augusta, Georgia's the second biggest city. Columbus, Georgia's the third biggest city. So you're looking at like not the top two typically, but the third through the 10th biggest cities in any given state. And you can find some competitive properties there still. I think at this point in time, it's a little bit more difficult to find, uh, properties that can perform at what we look for our investors and to provide the value for the tenant. I think there's just kind of you're just right. Things are not affordable anymore in a lot of markets for both for our residents and for, us as investors. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a well, the markets are shifting, right? And so they're constantly shifting, and there's you're looking and you're doing everything that you can to, number one, and you have the right focus, in my opinion, because you're thinking about your residents, you're thinking about your investors, and you're thinking about being able to provide them both of the two of them with the maximum amount of value that you can possibly derive, even in a market where right now things are pretty peaked out. So, but you have the right focus, like I said, in my opinion. So one of the other things I did want to ask you is, as an active duty person, you've got a lot going on, right? And I'm also just curious, like, what are some of because I've had an opportunity to talk to other people who have been that have been in active duty, and I'm sure that there are people that are listening to us right now as well that are in your position and thinking to themselves, like, I really feel like I could be doing something else, or I feel like there's this kind of thing in my gut, and this real assets and intangible assets and real estate are pushing me, but I just not ready to kind of move. Some of it goes back to the decision, but I guess what would you say to your active duty brothers and sisters that are looking to understand more about real estate and kind of help them figure out if this is the path for them or not?
Yeah, I would simply say that there are plentiful ways to provide yourself with a productive hobby if that's what you're looking for, right? Real estate is absolutely, I mean, it has been an absolute grind. The military itself, right? My job is pretty typical. I think that a lot of people find themselves in the shoes where like a 40-hour work week just doesn't exist. It's closer to a 60-hour work week. And some, whenever I was in command, I mean, truly it was 6 days a week, and some Sundays, and, you're out in the field for weeks at a time, completely cut off. So there's a lot of difficulties trying to maintain some sort of, regimen, and growing a business on the side. However, I will say it is so attainable. It is so attainable. You can do so much nowadays from any environment, and you can also just slowly build that out. I mean, it's taken 3 years, and we have 141 units under assets under management. Which is just shy of $10 million, and that's been extremely difficult. But I promise you, the momentum. I think people that are starting out are people that are looking to kind of expand and say, "Hey, I really want something more for my life." They should always start by seeking momentum. And that momentum can just be reading books. It can be putting yourself around people that are doing good things. It can be, actually once you decide, hey, I'm making a decision, real estate investing, commercial multifamily is my thing. Now, what's the next step? And it's just building little itty bitty steps, incrementally getting a little bit better. And, there's a way to build this thing where you're pretty much taking care of yourself in a legacy in a short amount of time. You're not taking 60 years to build a legacy. You're taking, 10 years, or some people have done it in less. I think you'd be hard pressed to do that while actively serving. But there's definitely a lot of potential. It's the reason why I'm able to transition out and feel safe to provide my family still, the living standard that we're used to. So it's a blessing all around.
Yeah. So, and I love the fact that you recognize that it's a blessing all around, and you have a clear focus. Also, there's the opportunity to collapse some of the time frames, right? Depending on where you want to play very, very, very actively. One of the things that I was not aware of before, Bo, was being able to play passively as well. Because then that way, and one of the things I always like to say is that is a way that allows you to constantly have your capital on the treadmill, right? Making sure that it's constantly moving, and it's not just sitting there having that atrophy that can happen to so many people when it's sitting in the bank. So there are also a number of different avenues that you're helping to expose in a positive way to other people, right? Whether they're military or not. And so when you're able to also show that you're positively affecting 148 lives through those doors that you have, and on your mission to go more, I think is phenomenal. So I appreciate you sharing that. Do you want to?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's just, if you were to, I truly believe, whenever I take a step back and look at this, that investing in real estate is not something that's going to make a whole lot of other people rich, right? And by saying that, I mean, you're not putting your money on Main Street. I'm sorry, on Wall Street, and all these hedge funds, or getting management fees and everything like that. So there's just an educational barrier, and it can be scary for people because they're just not exposed to it. So I really believe that investing in this asset class, learning more about this asset class, is something that's deinstitutionalized, and that's been it's been happening at a dramatic pace, recently. And it's for such good things. I mean, that's going to produce so many more self-sufficient people because of that. And so whenever I used to look at the problem as, hey, how do I get more people involved? How do I raise money? But it's just a simple being authentic and providing people an education, and just showing them, hey, here's what I know about this situation. Here's the kind of returns that we expect, and we're killing our returns right now. Really performing exceptionally well, and yet providing such an essential service to people that we care about, or communities that we care about. It's just hands down. I mean, I've liquidated my IRA. And people would think that I would have thought that I was crazy 5 years ago. Like, I thought a Roth IRA was the absolute best wealth building vehicle out there. I was like, you don't pay taxes ever. But I see now a completely different light. So I think that it's primarily just educating and sharing with people kind of our stories that's going to allow them to kind of make decisions on themselves for themselves. So.
And to me, that goes back to one of the very first things that you were talking about, the story with you and your dad, right? In that duplex, that $100,000 duplex, because you are actually helping to educate other people through taking action. Like, you're not actually going out there saying, hey, we did all this kind of stuff, but you like your loved ones, your 16 aunts and uncles, they're learning because you're just telling them about what you did during the day. And the fact that you're sharing that story, you're helping to educate. That may inspire certain questions. And when they ask you the questions, you're going to give them an answer. And if you don't have the answer, you're going to go get the answer. And then you're helping to add value through that whole process, right? And that is one of the things that helps to continue to get people to move in your direction, right? And you're sharing your story here today. It's really interesting. I just have to laugh. You talk about your 401k or your qualified funds. And I think one of the things when people really take the time to understand qualified funds, non-qualified funds, it doesn't, like, if you understand how it works, you don't necessarily need qualified funds. You can actually live a freer life without them being locked behind a 401k IRA wall. They're tools that can be used properly, but if you have to put your tools there and behind a certain shed and you can't touch that shed without fear of getting a penalty until you're 59 and a half, well, you know what? That's kind of a weird thing. But in order for people to really understand it, they have to sit down and they have to talk to you, Bo. That gives you the opportunity to help them understand that, well, you know what, if you just kind of manage your own funds, your own currency, you could probably get a better result. And whatever that result is, right? For some people, it's a social result. For some people, it's a fiscal result, or just a lot of different things that you can look at. But I love that you use that IRA kind of discussion point, because it's, qualified funds are, they're just qualified funds. I think you can do a lot more when they're not qualified. So, but don't get me started anymore on that.
No, it's great points. Great points.
Yeah. So, Bo, so you talked about where you are, but can you help us understand where you're going? I talked about it kind of at the top of the show. You've told us, you got the $10 million of assets under management today, 148 doors. Tell us kind of like, what do you see? Like, you got a new baby at home, so that's awesome. But business wise, what do you see? What's the near future hold for you?
Well, Billy, I may have misspoke, but you're giving me too much credit. It's 141 doors.
Sorry, not 148, 141.
Okay. It will be
141.
It will be over 148 soon. But
okay.
So yeah, I guess it really started with me whenever you're very intentional on a 5 or 10 year plan, kind of big, hairy, audacious goals, and just understanding how to break those down. To the point where you're looking at, hey, what do I need to do today to make my weekly goal attainable? And what do I need to do this week to make my monthly goal attainable? And I really like looking at quarters. We had a goal of closing on a property, on a commercial property, 50 units or greater, and we closed on a 68 unit in Q1 of 2021. That allowed us to set ourselves up. We're going to close on one more property this year. And just the way I say this now, we're going to close on another property this year.
Awesome.
I can say that with confidence, and absolutely believe it, because I've committed it into a goal in this thing right here, which is, my quarterly journal, which I've got, been working through those, and just being able to actively. Do you have the same one? It looks like you have the exact same one.
Was that from Mr. Hyatt, by the way?
It sure is. The full focus planner. Yep. It's incredible. Yeah. And really, I can't walk outside without 5 minutes. I'm lost if I don't have my journal. Like, you can have my phone, just don't take my journal, man.
I love that. By the way, everyone, he's showing, and I've just finished. I'm actually just finishing up right now. And the Free to Focus, Michael Hyatt is a planner, and it's awesome. So yeah, as soon as
there's so many of them. Yep, there's so many of them. And this is just an incredible one. So I would highly recommend it to anybody. But just being able to track those things, we'll be at over. So the goal at the end of 2021 is to be over 250 units. And I really think once you start building momentum, 1,000 units sounds. A year ago would have sounded nearly impossible. And now it's like, hey man, how do we start to slow down a little bit? Because there's so much momentum. And you don't, slowing down is definitely not what we're going to do, but you do need to assess what your goals are. And I don't think our company is not the kind of company that wants $1 billion under assets under management, because we want a very personal touch with our people, with our investors. That's what we're here for. And so, if we can continue to grow at a pace where we can take care of everybody involved, that's what's most important to us. So I think I went off a little bit, but it's just a little bit. It's about taking daily steps, daily actions that kind of put you towards position yourself to be able to capitalize whenever opportunities there. So.
Yeah, no, and I love that, and the fact that you already have that clear, that you want to continue to grow. You're clear that you want to continue to impact other lives, that you want to continue to impact more lives. You're really focused on the 90-day sprints, right? And you have a longer plan, and you want to be at those 1,000 doors. Where you want to be by the end of next year, or excuse me, where you will be by the end of the next year. I love the way that you phrased that, which is fantastic. And being able to have a clear plan as to how you will achieve those things is really, really important. So I think, it's great.
I think a little bit more tangibly, probably what you were looking for is there's, real estate. Whenever people say you invest in real estate, I mean, it's such an overwhelming amount of things you can do. There's so many different niches. So I think, currently we're value add, commercial multifamily investors, right? So we look for apartment complexes that are 60 to 125 units that we can implement a value add business plan. That's a great recession resistant business plan that can provide the highest risk adjusted returns available, right? But then you can kind of couple that with development, which you'll be able to impact different types of markets or different segments of the markets or different sub-markets within your market, and fulfill, other types of goals. So we're definitely getting into that. Residential assisted living, like I said, one of my biggest whys, my family, and they're getting to retirement age. I mean, they're retiring if they're not retired. And here in another 10, 15 years, they're going to be at an age where they're going to need some assistance with certain things. And that terrifies me for the current situation that I see. And so I really see that there's a tremendous value there in residential assisted living, providing a home to people that are near the end of their lives and giving them the respect and dignity they deserve. And so, tangibly speaking, you can kind of draw that out and say, hey, in a few years, we'll be here. We'll still be growing this side of the business, and then but now we're starting the progress of learning more and growing in this direction. And, in 5 years, we're going to have several different arms that are complementary. And, if this arm's not doing as well because of outside forces or because of whatever, we're still going to be strong and fundamentally, solid and stable.
So the outlook is bright and you're moving in the right direction. So I love that. And that is a great place for us to start getting ready to go to the Going Long Final Three. But the thing is, and I say this all the time, Bo, I never ask anybody to Going Long Final Three unless they tell me. And so unless you tell me that you're ready for the Going Long Final Three, I won't ask you. So are you ready?
Let's go, Billy.
Awesome. You are ready. I knew you would be. Cool. So the thing is, Bo, we started kind of over on your side of the Atlantic Ocean. I'd like to bring it back to this side of the Atlantic Ocean, this side of the pond, as we like to say sometimes. Help us understand, what is your favorite European city, either that you have visited or is still on your bucket list to visit?
Billy, where are you located right now?
I'm in this really cool Mediterranean place called Barcelona.
Barcelona. So I want to come visit you in Barcelona. No, but hey, so I've been in Europe one time and it was on a layover flight to the Middle East. So I was able to eat an authentic brat. So I do want to share that. So have so much travel in our future that we're very passionate about. I will say, Germany's definitely one of them, but my wife and I are going to go to Amalfi Coast in Italy and just spend a few weeks with some great, beautiful people, great scenery, some good wine, some good food, and that's what we're most looking forward to the most. So,
All right. So we'll give you the Amalfi Coast so you can make lots of little stops along the way. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful part
absolutely.
of the world. So the other thing is, I'll just tell you, I probably always get this wrong, and it's because I always think that all really successful people only make one mistake in their life, only one. And so every time I say that, everyone's like, "No, Billy, that's completely not right." And so I guess what I'm starting to learn is that really successful people make lots of mistakes, and that's okay. Because the thing is when you make lots of mistakes and you learn from those mistakes, it helps you to move further, faster. And so you are a successful person, Bo. And so I would hope that you would be kind enough to share with us one lesson, just one lesson that you've learned from, well, a learning opportunity or a mistake or however you want to call it. What's the one thing that you would share? What one lesson would you share with us here at the Going Long family?
Well, I appreciate that, Billy. And I aspire to be both kind and successful. So, and I'm happy to. And honestly, I love this question because failing forward is a fundamental, like you cannot succeed without failing forward, right? Even whenever it does not look that way. And I think whenever I thought about this question, by far the biggest setback that I had, I mean, I had 2 months of I failed on a syndication prior to closing on our first one. And it hurt me a whole lot. And the reason why I failed, or at least one of the reasons, there were several, but one of the reasons and one of my mistakes at the time, and I'm putting it in air quotes for people that can't see, is I divulged too much information to some of the people that that had the power to kind of cut me out of the deal, essentially, right? And that's the way that I kind of viewed it for a small amount of time. And so that was a mistake of mine that now those people, without me doing that, without me divulging that information, I would not have built the relationship. I would not have been able to display my competence in this asset class. And I would not have been able to provide the value to some people that are doing some tremendous things. And so it felt like a setback at the time, but truly it was the undermining of something that grew into something much bigger than that one deal. So that mistake at the time, I was like, man, I can't give them all this information. And it was, they're very successful, but not in a specific experience that I had. And I was like, I can't just give this away. They can take it and run with it. And it's similar to what happened, right? Because there was no need for Bo Goebel in the deal. They would have been nice to keep me in, essentially, right? So that was a huge mistake that led to so much growth. Once that mindset was able to change and I was able to get over my personal feelings and my ego, a couple months later, and the growth that we've seen from that relationship has been tremendous. And it's something that we will do many, many deals, impact many, many lives because of that situation. So
I think that
I would say the takeaway is be authentic, be yourself. And in the worst case scenario, that person would have been able to accomplish that deal without me, and then nothing would have happened after that. And I would have learned, hey, that's not somebody I want to deal with in the future.
Yeah.
The exact opposite happened for me. So
love that. Be yourself, be authentic, and wonderful things can happen, or the right things will happen. I guess it's probably the best way to think about that, especially when you're looking at it over the long term. So I appreciate that. And then this takes us into our last question. So I always like to finish by being able to feed our brains, feed our mind, and would love to know what book you would recommend to the Going Long family today.
Billy, if you don't mind, I'm going to say two, because one is probably said every other day, but Think and Grow Rich is something that I am genuinely so grateful for. And I literally read from it every day. I read the self-confidence formula every day. It has changed the trajectory of my life like no other book. The other book that probably no one's heard of, and that's why I want to share it, is Prison of Your Own. And it's just a well-written book by Sean Crane. It's a guy that had some adversity early in life and really came from a broken home and spent some years in prison and transformed his life from that cell. And something that I'm really proud of. He does phenomenal things. Great guy now. And I just love those redemption stories and, that mindset shift. And so
if it's okay with you, I actually would like to put your recommendation as Prison of Your Own by Sean Crane.
Absolutely. That's my recommendation.
That's what we're going to, because I've not heard of that one before. And I think that, especially with the story you told there, I think it's I know this is something that's going to impact someone when they need it. So we're going to take that one. Awesome. Prison of your own. Wow. Bo, man, we've had a great conversation and get a chance to share a conversation with a fellow Midwesterner. That's always kind of fun for me. Gentleman who's doing wonderful things in service to our country. So once again, thank you for that. You had an opportunity from sport into military service, finding a passion in real estate and being able to find a number of different areas, being able to get to a point in your journey now where you've got about $10 million worth of assets under management, and you have a trajectory to continue to grow. And you want to grow in the way that's doing it in an authentic way with people that you know, like, and trust, and that know, like, and trust you, doing it long distance, right? And also now in transition to a new place and a new baby at the house. And so, like, so many things about your story, Bo, people are like, oh my gosh, I got to get in touch with Bo. I need to call him. I need to talk to him. I want to find out more about what they're doing at Riverside Investment Group and all of those things. So help us understand, Bo, what is the best way for the Going Long family to get in touch with you, with your team, and learn about more of what you are doing?
Well, Billy, I truly appreciate that. And truly what you provide, the content you provide is phenomenal. And the platform that you have, I appreciate the opportunity to even share my story with this group. And if I can be of more service, I would love to help in any way and have conversation, continue that conversation. It's Bo Goebel, BOGOEBEL at riversideinvestmentgroup.com. And then Riverside Investment Group is our website. You can definitely get a hold of me there. And LinkedIn's probably the best way to just find me and get in touch with me directly. And that's, just my name, Bo Goebel, on LinkedIn. So.
All right, perfect. And that's Goebel, Goebel. So for everyone. And listen, when you reach out to Bo on LinkedIn, just remind him that you were watching or listening to the two of us here on the Going Long podcast, because that's going to help Bo just to give kind of like a point of view, because he's a busy person and he's out there and he's meeting lots of people, and that will, I think, probably help you get a faster response as well, although I'm sure you get to everybody really quickly. So once again, Bo Goebel at riversideinvestmentgroup.com, and you can also find out more information there at the website. And if you're on the treadmill or you're cooking or something like that, don't worry, we're always going to put these contact information in the show notes, and all you have to do is click a button. So it'll be just fine. We'll make it easy for you. So listen, Bo, thank you very much, man. From the bottom of my heart, really appreciate you investing your time with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you very much.
Billy, I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. And if you allow me just a couple of seconds, I just want to say a couple words to the Going Long family. Thank you so much for once again investing your time with Bo and I today. Bo shared so much value, so much information. You have a unique opportunity today to go out and share today's episode with at least 2 to 3 other friends, family members, and you can be that person that has a positive impact on their lives. And so by doing that, you're also helping to attract other like-minded people to the Going Long family. So it would be phenomenal for you to share today's episode with, like I said, 2 or 3 other people. And also when you have a moment, we'd love for you to give an honest review of the show and of the conversation. I know Bo and I would really love to know what you found very valuable in today's conversation. What are things you wish we would have talked about? Because we think about that as well. And I go through every single review, like honestly, an honest review, because I want to know what you want more out of the show so we can provide you with that and continue to add all of the value that you're looking for us to do here at the Going Long podcast with yours truly, Billy Keels. And I'm going to be really, really excited and ready to meet you on the very next conversation. And until then, go out, make it a great day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? When I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode. So go out and make it a great day.